Pennsylvania's state system of higher education. 14 universities, infinite opportunities.
Hello, I'm Frank Brogan, the Chancellor of the Pennsylvania State System of Higher Education, and welcome to another installment of Infinite Opportunities. This is our system's opportunity to talk to you, the people of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, about our 14 wonderful state-owned public universities and the contributions being made every day by great faculty, staff, administration, and of course our 100,000 students. Today's topic is fascinating and perhaps unknown to many of our viewers. It's the issue of undergraduate research. Unknown because so often graduate education is the place we put research. In our case, undergraduates in our system and throughout our system are having this unique opportunity played out every single day. With us, we have three very important panelists. To my right, Dr. Michael Jackson, who is the Dean of the College of Science and Technology at Millersville University. Welcome, Dr. Jackson. To my extreme left, one of our students, Amanda Flynn. She is a senior with a dual major in economics and accounting at Westchester University. Welcome, Amanda. We're delighted to have you two ways, this way and as a student at Westchester. And to my exact left, we're fortunate to have Dr. Simon Conliffe with us today. Dr. Conliffe is an associate professor in the Department of Economics and Finance at Westchester University. You two know each other, of course. And we're delighted to have all three of you. In talking about student research, you could go into 1,000 different directions, but you all are the experts. Would you start, Dr. Jackson, and tell us a little bit about your experience in undergraduate research and what you are doing by way of work at Millersville on the topic?
Well, I had a fantastic undergraduate education, but the most memorable experience that I have of that time is my research experience with a faculty member. And so when I became a faculty member myself, I wanted to go ahead and give that same type of experience to my students. And now as a dean, my role really is to help facilitate those experiences for our students and faculty.
Fantastic. Dr. Conliffe?
In the Department of Economics and Finance, we have a program where we encourage students to produce an independent study, like a thesis. And for several of those students, they have the opportunity to travel to a regional economics conference and present it to see what it looks like in the field. And also on campus, I'm a member of the Council for Undergraduate Research, and we have a number of programs at Westchester that promote undergraduate research across all of the curriculum.
Outstanding. And Amanda, from a student's perspective, tell us a little bit about your experience with undergraduate research.
It has really helped me develop as a full, well-rounded person, I think. The experiences that I've had with it, working directly under a professor, learning a lot from, I've actually been under three, and just learning how to interact professionally and appropriately and getting your work done, and even furthering what we learn in the classroom, really getting to apply it has been a really great opportunity.
Well, this is a great time, I think, to take a bit of a visit to one of our other 14 universities, all of whom are engaged in some realm of undergraduate research. Let's go to East Stroudsburg and see what kind of work is taking place there.
When you're a kid, you think of scientists being in the lab and running experiments and doing those sorts of things. I think that's important to start in college. The research that we're doing here is we're looking at a community called the myofauna, which are tiny little organisms, animals and plant-like organisms that live between the grains of sand along a beach.
What we're doing is filtering through the seawater and finding the myofauna that are next to the oyster castles down in our field station in Wallops, Virginia. They're kind of bioindicators to help us see the changes in the ocean.
This began actually after Hurricane Sandy in 2012. The field site is near an area where there's a lot of natural oyster beds, and many of those oyster beds got wiped out. And our team was asked to kind of look at the biology around the area to see how it might be changing over time and how it might be impacted by the oyster resettlement. All of our students take 4 summer classes in Virginia where they go out on boats and they cast nets and they collect organisms and they study things in the lab. But during the year, we're able to go down and collect data and bring it back to ESU and study it on campus.
Being engaged in this kind of project like this as an undergrad student, I mean, you start seeing more hands-on. You can sit in a classroom all you want, be taught, But then to start being able to do it and see it for yourself, I think that's when, for me at least, when I start really learning.
We've had 2 students give talks at the Pennsylvania Academy of Sciences, and we had 1 student join me in a national meeting for estuary research in Washington, D.C. within the last 2 years.
Doing research like this is very important because you can't get this hands-on experience out of a textbook.
I think, especially nowadays, undergraduate research is crucial. You know, there's studies that show that students that get involved in research like their careers better, tend to stay with the sciences more, have more probability of going on to graduate school and doing advanced research. It also is kind of what grabs you.
A research project like this is really important as an undergrad student because it puts you ahead and gets you ready for if you're going to go to graduate school, or it gives you an extra step closer to finding a job in your field. I think it's really important.
All the students that I mentioned that have done research and presented it have gone on to either graduate school or have careers in marine science. And I think a large part of it, I think they would agree, a large part of it was that they got kind of bit by the bug of doing research and doing real science.
Invest in me.
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 I'll be your future public servant.
I'll be your future advertising executive.
I'll be your future accountant.
I will be your future motivational speaker.
I'll be your future lawmaker.
I will be your future teacher.
Invest in me. I'll be your future videographer.
Welcome back to Infinite Opportunities. Our topic today is undergraduate student research, something that has become a thriving part of higher education and a very important part of what we provide undergraduate students here in the Pennsylvania State System of Higher Education. I thought it might be interesting for our viewers to talk a little bit about the role of the faculty member in terms of undergraduate research. A faculty member knows when they go into graduate education that they're going to be heavily involved in the issue of research. But viewers probably aren't aware that all of our faculty members are involved in research themselves on their subject matter. But in this particular case, so many of our faculty members are engaged in undergraduate education research. And I thought we might start by talking about that topic, the role of the faculty in that regard. Dr. Conliffe, would you lead us off?
Yes. So I try to encourage students to put into practice what they're learning in the classroom and use that as a guide when they're choosing the topic. If it's something that interests them, then they will put in the hours and they'll take ownership of the project. And so we start with a review of the literature. It's as if they're coming late to a party and the conversation's already been happening, so they need to know what's been said before. But then I like to involve them in the design of the research and then gather the data and then analyze it and then have a tangible outcome, have a paper, a poster for a conference, something that carries their name. Some of them send them off to undergraduate research journals for publication, have been successful there, and it really proves to be a springboard for their career, and that is also can lead to graduate school as well, which increasingly some of our students are finding their way to.
All reasons why people like me are so excited about the amount of emphasis that our system is now placing on undergraduate research. As a student, Amanda, do you feel the difference in the world of the traditional educational opportunity up against this important move to undergraduate research that you're engaged in?
I definitely do think that there is an extreme importance for undergraduate research. About a year ago, I was actually sought out. I was taking one of Dr. Conliff's classes to get involved in a fitness study that we have been doing. We did it last year and then this year. And what was great about this opportunity to do it for 2 years was that I got to kind of watch it and see what goes on behind the scenes. And then this year I got to go to get much more involved in designing the research and having my own input and having really great discussions and ideas that we've bounced off of each other. So it's been a really great opportunity, I think, as a student to learn from my professors even more than you do in the classroom.
An even more well-rounded experience, I would think, for the student, yes?
Yes.
Great. And Dr. Jackson, how about your experiences? You told us you were a student who was exposed to the issue of undergraduate research, and I'm sure that contributed mightily to your passion for it.
Very much so. And what attracted me to Millersville University specifically was the interest that faculty had in undergraduate research and in providing these types of experiences and specifically high impact practices. So there's been a lot of studies done in higher education looking at student learning, and they have identified a number of very influential high impact practices that aid to student recruitment, student retention, student degree completion, and student engagement. And undergraduate research is one of those components. And so the fact that there was already buy-in on campus, across the campus, not just within the College of Science and Technology, but throughout the campus. And when we think about undergraduate research, it's not just research and scholarship, but it's also creative activities. So that's why it's across the campus where you have this. And I think these are just excellent conversations to have about why it's kind of important. In academia, we talk about this as being a high impact practice. Well, in the private sector, they talk about it as career ready skills. And so what are we trying to do? We're trying to go ahead and combine these with students to be able to have critical thinking skills, problem solving, being able to go ahead and adapt to and learn new forms of technology, being able to go ahead and participate as a member of a team, and being able to communicate. These are all the types of skills and learning objectives that we as academics and the private sector want us to have. And undergraduate research is a great vehicle to go ahead and accomplish that.
I couldn't agree more. And this is a good opportunity to make another visit. Let's travel to Western PA and visit Slippery Rock University and see how they're engaged in undergraduate research activities.
I met with Dr. Zeke before I decided to come here, and I mentioned to him that I wanted to accomplish something more than earning just a degree. Degree is fantastic, but I wanted to really leave here having accomplished something in the geological sciences. So working on this research project has given me the opportunity to accomplish something more. So here at Slippery Rock University, we are working on a project to better understand the movement of magma from the center of the Earth, or deep within the surface, into the crust.
This is pretty important for understanding volcanic eruptions, also where the different magmas come together. That tends to be sites where ore deposits form, so there's a lot of applications for this.
Working on this project has been a great experience. The one-on-one mentorship that I've received from Dr. Zieg is basically unheard of in undergraduate curriculum.
Research with undergraduates is really nice. I'm able to bring the students with me into the field, into the lab, and during that time when I'm doing research, I'm also teaching them. I'm teaching them analytical techniques, I'm teaching them how to interpret the rocks. As they develop, it's even to the point where we can talk about understanding the questions and how to address the questions so we can get all the way up to critical thinking.
When I got into this research, I was only a freshman, so I was just in the beginning geology courses. And the things they teach you there are very simplified compared to here. It was a real shock coming here and finding out that these things that they teach you in the beginning geology class, they're true, but it's not that simple at all. I was intimidated, like there's no way I could be as good at this as they were. I was always asking questions, is this actually what I think it is? Okay, yes it is. Is this? Yes it is. Okay, I'll keep getting it right. And so I eventually acquired much more confidence.
I have presented at multiple national conferences and been given the opportunity to speak at different universities throughout the United States about my research project. This research project and all the research that I've been involved with here at Slippery Rock University has shown me that I'm capable of succeeding as a graduate student. And right now I'm currently applying and filling out applications to attend graduate school.
I found out that I'm apparently very good at detail work, and I like it a lot. You know, picking through each individual slide and finding every single crystal, the satisfaction you get from it once you're done with the slide is awesome.
Knowing that I'm capable of conducting successful research is a boost to my confidence.
We make about 45 million pounds of chips in a quarter. That equates to about 200 million pounds of potatoes, which is quite a few. What's interesting with M&T is they're a small town bank, and as we've grown, they've also grown with us. They've got the resources that you would need in order to go big, but they also have that friendly local community feel so that it makes it seem easier than it probably is.
We're back, and we're going to spend the next couple of moments or so talking about the world of undergraduate research from a little bit of a different perspective, in that while it is a mounting body of work that is expanding in higher education, it is not at all universal. So we're very proud in our system that we do offer undergraduate research experiences. And I thought I'd ask our panelists if they could tell us a little bit about undergraduate research from their perspective and why it can also be a very attractive opportunity for family members and specifically students who are shopping for that higher educational experience to look to as they select their university of choice. So I'm going to start with you, Amanda, as our student. You told me during the break that you weren't aware that undergraduate research was available until you started at West Chester. How did you come to be engaged then in that undergraduate research opportunity at West Chester?
I believe I had mentioned it before. I had class with Dr. Conliffe, and he presented the idea to the class that he was looking for help in research, and I sought out that opportunity. But what I didn't realize what research really was, it's such a great learning experience, and it's beyond what you would take your typical go to class exams, take notes. It's really applying it and furthering it, and answering the questioning mind. And it's really the personal relationship that you do get to develop with your professors, because I think that's really underrated, is how much you can learn from somebody else. And it's not from a textbook that you learn, it's really from the people. And that has really, really spoken to me and really helped me grow as a person, I think, was this opportunity to work one-on-one closely.
And I think, Dr. Conliffe, the idea that if more students were aware as they were making their decisions, not only that undergraduate research was available, but as Amanda pointed out, how important it could be to gaining a diploma, but a unique skill set in whatever area of endeavor one chooses when they move into a university, yes?
Yes, and we've made some strides on that front at West Chester. We have the Summer Undergraduate Research Program, which I was one of the co-founders of that. And this is multidisciplinary, and we tend to attract students who are upperclassmen, but it's available to all. And these students who participate in the summer program get to work one-on-one with a professor, like a faculty mentor, for 5 weeks. And during that time, not only do they work one-on-one with that professor, but they can also, the group comes together in weekly meetings to talk about research, talk about their struggles. Was it a good week or a bad week? And then they find no matter what discipline they're in, there are those common themes, and then they support each other. And then they have an outcome at the end of the program, and it can be an abstract that will be submitted for presentation at a conference. It gives them a head start on a paper that they might be doing in their final year, and the end product is so much richer for that summer work.
That capstone experience, which is such an important part of undergraduate research, has such a massive impact on students that I talk to around the system, because it incorporates essentially everything that they have learned to that point, all rolled into that one experience. Dr. Jackson, would you tell us a little bit about your take on how important a part undergrad research plays in our system today, and how we can get more students involved?
Sure, that's not a problem. So, one of the things that when we think about undergraduate research and getting students involved, you know, whenever I'm talking to prospective students, for example, you know, I tell them, you know, student engagement is the most important thing, and undergraduate research is one of those components. And we have several departments in our college that actually have a required research experience for their degree. The college itself offers like travel fellowships for students to present their research at conferences. We have a similar undergraduate research, summer research program for our students. And we also have, probably similar to many campuses across the state system, we have Made in Millersville, which is a research conference that goes ahead for undergraduates to present their scholarly work from across the university every April. And so it's going ahead and talking to those students and getting them engaged, and how is it that you're engaging in your education, and how is it that you're going beyond your comfort zone, going outside the classroom, and really applying those skills and the content knowledge that you're learning in there to solve this unknown problem or to create this unknown entity that no one else had created before.
It's really exciting, the work that you are all doing. And Amanda, that especially includes you as a student, knowing that it's going to make you a better person when you leave the university and go out there into that great world that's going to be waiting for you. Let's go to Shippensburg University. As I mentioned, all of our universities are engaged in undergraduate research. But let's take a trip to Shippensburg and see how they're approaching this issue.
Student research, it can be as varied as studying population dynamics of oyster growth, or how the U.S. Army developed and decided to use camouflage in World War II. So there's history, there's science, and there's mathematics, but also art, English, teaching. A goal at Shippensburg University is to integrate student research and creative activities into the campus culture.
Research has had a huge impact on my learning experience at Shippensburg. It's not something I ever expected to do. Looking at the classes we could take and research being an option, that never crossed my mind, never wanted to do it. But after Dr. Jans approached me for the first time to do research with them, it became a lot more clear that that's something I'm interested in.
We are developing high-resolution maps and also a model that will forecast land use change into the future for the Delaware River Basin.
With the Kittatinny Ridge Coalition and a professor here at Shippensburg, we worked on a project to create geodatabases. And so our goal was to have these data sets ready so that if the Kittatinny science team needs to do any analysis in the region, they have these data sets of data that's already prepared for them.
We also have a lot of interest in the products that we're creating. So we already know that there's going to be at least 50 organizations out there who are interested in using our data and looking at our analyses. So the students that we have working on those projects are they already know that the work that they do is going to be informing decision-making for many different groups in the Delaware River Basin.
I like the idea of starting with a problem and following through with a solution, even if I can't see that directly, that solution.
Unlike many classroom situations where the faculty member knows how to get from point A to point B, many times when you're doing research, you start at A, but you don't know if you're going to go to C, D, or E. And so the unpredictability of research, that's how real life works. You don't know what that answer is. So investigating and exploring are what I hope students take away from their research experience, and I hope that they carry that with them throughout their lives and after they graduate from Shippensburg.
Doing independent research as a student in college can really help your career path in the future. It's a chance for you to apply the things that you've learned in the classroom to a real-world problem.
I would tell students that are considering Shippensburg University that you have the opportunity to engage in student research from day one, and that it's a really valuable thing to do.
So it's really important to take the initiative and let a professor know that you're interested in what they're doing and what you've learned about, and that you want to take it to the next level.
Welcome back. We're going to spend the final segment talking a little bit about how a student transitions from being at a university and having been provided that undergraduate research experience to the world in which they're going to live. We're going to start with Dr. Jackson from Millersville. Tell us a little bit about that transition and why you believe it is so important to have undergraduate research.
Well, undergraduate research is important because we've talked about how it's a high-impact practice. And then from the employer's point of view, that's what's really providing them with those career-ready skills. And so, you know, if I think about this, you know, undergraduate research is a great activity that's basically an intersection between the interests of students, faculty, administrators, and the students' future employers. And I think it's really important for everyone to be involved in finding ways to promote and to really help provide those types of experiences for our students.
And Dr. Simon Conliffe from Westchester University, thanks again for being with us. Your perspective on that same topic.
One of the highlights of being a professor is when a student comes into the classroom and they've got a job offer. And they describe what happens in the interview, and they say that they spent a lot of time talking about the research that they've done in the program. And it doesn't matter if the research is totally aligned with the position. The employer wants to know, have you been able to work on something, a multi-week project, take some data, extract meaningful conclusions from that, present it. These are the core skills that the employers are looking for, and I'm happy that we can deliver those things.
That's a perfect outline of that transition between university experience and the world of work. Amanda Flynn from Westchester University, thanks for being with us, and tell us a little bit about what you hope you will find by way of that transition.
Well, kind of to build off what Dr. Conliffe was saying, with technology becoming such a big part of our world, the need for data analytics it's become so important, and this has given me an opportunity to develop those skills, very technical skills. But in another sense, it's the fact that I've had ideas and I've learned how to research my thoughts and then present them to a superior, which is an aspect of my whole future. Essentially, I'm always going to be presenting to somebody above me and learning how to put my thoughts together in a very concise, clear manner, and having ideas and expanding on them. I think this has been extremely helpful and will help me throughout my career.
I think that, coupled with that great dual major that you're tracking, puts you into a wonderful position. By the way, if you're an employer out there looking for someone who's going to be a great part of your operation, remember Amanda Flynn. She'll be available following the May graduation. I want to thank all three of our panelists for being with us today. It is such a large topic, and there's so much you could talk about, but you three did a marvelous job of encapsulating a great deal of information into a brief period of time on a very important topic, that which is undergraduate research. So thank you for being with us. And as always, to our viewers, thank you for joining us for this installment of Infinite Opportunities. We hope you'll come back for another installment in the future. Thank you. I'm Frank Brogan. Have a great day.
Come back next week to learn more of the infinite opportunities at the state system's 14 universities, or visit us online